Hello, everybody. I am Rohan from FinSwede, and today on our second live stream ever, we've got Jonas again, the founder of Wized. Jonas, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again as our second live stream, our second voice live stream. And we can't wait to share a lot of new updates and new things that we have been working on for the last months. And very excited.
Okay, so let's say hello to the audience. Let's see who we have here. Hey, Frank. Hello, Mike. Joseph, good to see you. Jesse, what's up? Victoria, glad to have you here in the back end. Vishwanath, good to see you. And Magdalena. Okay, so let's get on with the live stream. So, the agenda for today's stream is that we'll start off with the announcements and then speak about the big updates. At the end of every section, we'll have a Q&A session where you can ask us any questions about the things we discussed in the previous section. And we'll finish it off with a form that where you can submit to get an access to Wist. And then at the end will be the live AMA section with Jonas. Okay, so announcements. Firstly, we have changed the Twitter handle from at getwizd to at Wized app. So next time you want to contact us on Twitter, make sure to put in the right handle. So that is at Wized app. Next up, we have got the clonables. Jonas, could you please share your screen and show us the first clonable that we released in the last month?
Of course. So we released two clonables, as you just said, Rohan. The first one being the Shorty clonable, and it's basically just a very small web application, but it is quite good if you are just starting out with Wist and you just want to see how to trigger a network request from Wist. And let me quickly open it up so that we can test it out. So let me just enter a link in here, and then it will give us basically a shortened version of this link. So you can paste any link in here. For this example, I would just paste this URL. It is the URL of this application, which is online right now. And I will click shorten, and we get the rebrandly URL, which is basically a service that we are calling the API. And we get back this shortened link as the response. And we also have the copy functionality, which we built with FinSuite attributes in Wist here.
Great.
And
And then we
coming
can
up
move
to
on to the next clonable.
Yes, sure. The second one is the Lottie animation clonable. And this is basically, again, more of a functionality clonable. So it's highlighting one functionality that a lot of users requested, and that is how to trigger Webflow interactions with Wist. And in this functionality, what is especially doing is it's triggering a Lottie animation on click of this continue button. So you can build some very nice animations in Webflow. You can make them on click and then trigger the animation by click of the button. And quick demo here again. Let me just put in some email address. And when I click continue, I see this loading animation here. So everything regarding those clonables you can get from our homepage again. And also probably a lot of you have received emails about how to access those clonables. So if you already have access, you can just follow the instructions in the email or go to our homepage, wist.com. And in here, you can just go to the Wist showcase and basically check out the clonables we released. There's also a quick reminder for the other clonables that we released. You can find them all in here, browse around, and just explore some Wist builds.
Jonas, I've got a question about the clonable you just showed. I want to know
Mhm.
what other Webflow interactions can we trigger using Wized.
Of course. So, in general, what this clonable here is doing is that it's basically, doing an on-click trigger on the specific element where the Webflow animation is sitting on. So, in general, with Waste, you can trigger all kinds of Webflow animations. You can trigger on-click animations. You can trigger on-hover animations. You can basically trigger all kinds of animations that you would like to have inside of your application. And as you know, building animations with Webflow is very easy. So you can simply build out everything in Webflow and then proceed with triggering it from Wist.
Personally, I'm really glad Emmanuel did this tutorial because I always wondered if it was possible to combine Webflow interactions with Wized. And he showed us it's actually possible. So great, and definitely a shout out to Emmanuel for doing that. Moving on,
Yes.
Black Market. It's official. So last week we made an announcement. This is an initiative between Black Peak, FinSuite, and Wized, and Jonas is showing us what it is. Um,
Yeah, maybe I can just talk a little bit more about it. So, actually, this initiative started long time ago. The idea for it started a long time ago by us wanting to have an official clonable marketplace for Wist. And since a long time, we have been in talks about Blackpeak, and Blackpeak wanted to support us with that. So we went ahead and merged our powers, and the outcome of this will be the black market. And as a first step, we launched the landing page for it, and we have the waitlist open. And especially, we have the waitlist open for two different kinds of persons. So, first, maybe you will want to look around or buy future clonables. Then you can just enter your email here and will get notified when it launches. And secondly, you can also scroll down and you can sign up as a clonable creator. So, especially when you are already familiar with Wist and maybe have built a couple of applications already, then this is basically the opportunity for you to take part in a brand new marketplace that will launch and build very high quality clonables for our user base that will hopefully save them hundreds of hours in creating their web applications for clients or for own projects. So yeah, we're really excited to see this coming to life. There will be more news on this in the future. But we already want to tease it to you, and it will probably not be too long until we will be able to launch it.
so, Jonas, I've got a question about the black market. So, when users can buy something, is that a Wized configuration? Is that a Webflow UI? Does that include the backend? Or what can users expect to purchase at the black market?
So, yeah, the main focus will lay in buying clonables. So, basically, buying a template that you can then use and modify for your custom web application. So, think of like a Webflow template that you buy. And then this template not only includes the Webflow build, but it also includes the Wist build, first of all, and it will also include the clonable backend. And the clonable backend, of course, that will differ. Like there will be different clonable backends. Like for example, there will be Xano backends. There will probably be also Superbase backends, and maybe even other backends built with other backend providers. But in general, you will get this three parts. So Webflow, Wized, and then the backend, so that you can basically have a fully fledged working web application out of the box, set up in 5 minutes, and that you can go ahead then and customize with your styles in Webflow, and of course also in functionalities in Wized if you like.
All right, that is so great to hear. And I also think it's a fantastic opportunity for the creators to show their expertise and earn some passive income while doing that. So great initiative. Very excited to see that. And in fact, I can't wait to see how the future will be like with all the users coming on board to Wist. Okay, on to the updates now. So internally, we spoke a lot about the versioning system. I'm quite confused. Can you explain what versioning system is?
Of course. So we have basically planned out and are very soon to launching our own versioning system for Wized applications. And this doesn't only include the Wized application itself, but it also includes the configurator and the embed. So basically, as you might have known already in the Wized configurator in the past, there have been backups. So all your work has been saved. But this new versioning system not only makes sure that you have your backups, but it basically also makes sure that Wizd itself is running on the right version. And this is very important. It's probably something you know from softwares in general, that you might sometime download version 1 and then version 2 comes out and then version 3 comes out, and maybe things change between those versions. And things change normally because we as software creators want to improve things. So whenever we change something, we need to make sure as a software creator that we in no case ever break an existing application running on Wist. So to basically make Wized more stable in the long run and to really make 100% sure that nothing will break your web application, no update from our side, we basically will be introducing this versioning system. It will be accessible in the settings of your Wized configurator. There will be a new section being called the version, the Wized version that you're running on. And then you can select basically from a dropdown the right version that you want to run on. And of course, you might have some features that you never want to upgrade, that you just want to, some project that you just want to stay on the base version. And there might be some other projects where you, just want to maybe be on the latest, newest update, and maybe even on a beta or alpha version of Wist, where you get the very, very first features. And all this will be introduced with the versioning system. And it's coming very soon, probably the next 2 weeks.
So, Jonas, you mentioned that users can choose to opt in to the next version of Wist. Does that mean users can choose to opt into the previous version as well?
Yes, you are basically completely free to choose what Wist version you want to lock your project in. And you will only need to update the embed on your Webflow page. The embed on your Webflow page will reflect the version you are in right now. And we are also basically adding a neat feature for our version support. And as some of you might know, our debugger that sits right into our configurator, this debugger basically will show you issues if we introduce breaking changes in the future. So if you choose to upgrade an old project sometime in the future, let's say in 1 year or 2 years, and we introduce a breaking change, maybe we have added another parameter to a request or we removed one, then you will just see this change in the debugger and will be alerted to it. And you will be able to basically respond to this change accordingly. So update your request or update your action. This makes it very stable and a seamless experience for you in the future.
Okay. And to confirm, the versioning system would be per project basis, not for the whole workspace wide.
Correct. It will be on a per project basis. So you can select a different version for each project.
Okay. I see, well, now onto the Q&A section, and I see here Robert is asking, will you be able to share a Wist project in the same way that you can share a Webflow project?
Yes, that is something we are also working on right now. We will talk a little bit more in a later stage of this announcement live stream. But there will be basically a README link that you will be able to share. And so if you know the configurator right now and you know the settings inside of the configurator, there will be also another new section next to the versioning where you will be able to generate your sharing link for the Wish project and will be able to generate read-only links.
Okay, great. And then the next question by WKD, just scrolling a little up, he asks, or they ask, how will the marketplace handle the clonables needing Zano?
So I know that Bailey from Blackpeak has been in talks with them, and I know that they will have a clonable feature as well. So this will be seamlessly integrated, and there will probably just be a link provided inside of the clonable that you purchase, where you then can clone the project. And for Wized, as it basically is our official clonable marketplace, and we officially support it. All the licensing will also be handled directly inside of Wist. So when you purchase a project, it can be only cloned and used one time inside of Wist. All this licensing part that also makes it very nice for you as a creator to make sure that that all the licensing rules that you set up are enforced. Will all be handled by us as it's our official marketplace.
Okay, great. Now we'll move on to the next section, and that is from actions to Wized attributes. This is huge. It's a name change, but we want to know why we are changing the name. So, first off, Jonas, can you tell us what is attributes? Is it something flow specific, or are we talking about the FinSuite product? What is attributes?
So we had, in general, big conversations about this attributes name inside Wiz and inside FinSuite. And as you all know, the FinSuite attributes product is very successful and is used by millions of viewers every month. So yeah, it has gained huge popularity, and with that also the brand name grew. So that's why, in general, attributes, basically this whole naming, comes from an HTML attribute. And HTML attributes in general are quite generic. So it's not something that we as FinSuite or even Webflow or some other web developer basically has or is specific to him. So yeah, we with attributes in Wized, we will call it the Wized attributes. And the reason for the naming is basically that actions always felt for us like a little bit of the wrong name. So actions were mostly the triggers you set up, right, to trigger a request. That's a proper action. But basically, action is not the best name for an element connection and basically syncing data to an element. And that's why basically when we think of what FinSuite attributes is doing, basically syncing functionality to an element, that's exactly the same thing that Wiz is doing as well. So with Wiz, we are syncing functionality to an element, and that's the same thing as with attributes. When you have when you set up some CMS attributes, you're basically syncing functionality, JavaScript functionality to the specific element, and that's why we think that they belong both into a similar category. We have two different approaches to it. In Wist, everything is very configurable, and you can basically define it with own data. And attributes is more functionality based, but we think it fits into the same category, and that's why we are basically choosing this new name just to represent it better.
Okay, thank you for that great explanation. I was having a look at the comments to see if we have any questions. No questions so far. I think we've been quite clear in our talks, but I do see lots of people sharing invite codes in the chat, and that just makes me happy. The friendliness in the community is simply amazing. Okay, so if you have any more questions about the attributes, please ask, and we will get to them in the next section. Now, moving on, we Jonas will share the current dashboard because the dashboard is rebuilt. Before we see the new dashboard, let's look at how it currently looks like. So I see we've got the V2 UI, but the UX is still V1. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this dashboard because as you can see in Jonas's screen, he has so many workspaces and it just becomes difficult to scroll down and up, especially when there are multiple projects, and even more difficult to move projects from one workspace to another. So we thought a lot about it internally in the team, and we built the entire dashboard to improve not just the UX, but we added more functionality, more features to the new dashboard. So Jonas, could you please show us the new dashboard and walk us through the updates?
Yes, I'm very happy to do it. So yeah, as you can see right now on your screens, this is the new Wized dashboard. Everything is much more clear and concise. We basically grouped workspaces into a block like you know it from Webflow. And we also are introducing this picked for you section on here on the top. And in here, you will basically see 6 of your most recently used projects. So you can basically just check in here. You don't need to sort or search in long lists. You will basically be just the most used project, the project you're working on for a client, it will be just here. Other than that, we will also have the feedback tab where you can quickly give us feedback. And we're very looking forward for your responses here. And also, we are linking the black market here. So that is also for easy access, so that you can basically browse clonables, check out resources in your workflow. Opening up a folder is also very easy. So you can basically just open up the folder. Everything is super snappy, super fast. And we also introduced search. So let's say, for example, we want to search for a specific project here. Let's say this localhost project. Then we can just search for this project, and only the workspace with the specific project will appear. If I enter a new search, then yeah, workspace disappears again. And this basically makes it very, very easy to even search through huge lists of workspaces and projects like I have, for example, here in my account. What we added as well is a new toggle. So if you prefer the old layout, if you want everything to be open from the start, you can simply toggle this button here and everything will be just open. So yeah, this dashboard is completely new. It will also release in the next weeks, and yeah, getting on to the next updates.
I've got a question about this, Jonas. How do we add collaborators? Are there permissions to the collaborators?
Yes. So in this change with this new dashboard, we are also introducing 3 collaborator levels. So for now, there was only admins and basically editors. And in the future, you will be able to have multiple admins and multiple collaborators, multiple editors, and multiple viewers. So if you want to restrict access for somebody, if you want to only give more granular access, this is now also possible with this new dashboard.
Okay, that is so great to hear. I love the permission levels. It's very important to give people access to projects, but also to ensure that not everyone is able to edit them. So, fantastic update there. Let's have a look at the questions from the audience. So, somebody is asking DK Jux, is it customizable? I would prefer picked for you to be below workspaces. What are your thoughts on that, Jonas?
Could you repeat the question? One second.
So they're referring to the black section at the top. Is it possible to move that down? Um, yes, I think that is the question, if it is customizable.
Okay, so for now it's not customizable, so you cannot just pick the projects. But if that's something a lot of people or a lot of users like you wish, then it's probably something we can add in the future. And yeah, also I think this top bar right now sorts the projects basically based on your activity. So if you have a project that you're working on right now, it will definitely always be in the top left. And this goes along for 6 other projects. So you will basically have all the projects that you're working on right next in your working environment, right from the start in the top of the dashboard.
Right. So essentially, the picked for you section is recent projects. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Great.
It's a mix of your recent projects and some news that we share, some new just items that we want to display that are of relevance.
Okay. Okay. So like a quick access section, something like that.
Exactly.
All right. So Johnny Dev is asking, do you have plan for Web3 integration?
So we are having plans for it to be an application that we add. So that would be an application that we add instead of the configurator. And right now we down prioritize it a little bit as we see basically the market cooling down a little bit. Not so many people also requesting it anymore. A lot less than a few months ago. So that's why we down prioritize it in our roadmap. However, if that's something you really would wish to have, maybe you can just shoot us a quick message and explanation, and we will revisit this.
And if you prefer email, that would be communications@wiz.com. We also have a page on the website that's wiz.com/support, where you can get contact information. Okay, so two people have asked, how can I delete a project in my dashboard?
So deleting projects in your dashboard is quite straightforward. Let me quickly share it with you. So basically, deleting projects is always done inside of the configurator itself. So when you open up the configurator and you go into the danger zone under settings, basically this is where you see the delete project toggle.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Jonas. Next question by Nicolas Ordas. Do you have planned integrate charts to create reports like dashboards, KPIs, etc.?
Yes, I will not answer this question right now because there will be more to this in a few seconds.
Okay, great. So, on to the next section. So, earlier today, we released a poll on Twitter asking what could be the next big update since the configurators rebuild. So, the majority of you voted as the data field editor. And guess what? You're all right. It is the data field editor. So, Jonas, before we show the new data field editor, could you please show us how the current version looks like?
Yes, of course. So you should see it here on my screen. This is basically the opened up data field editor. And the problems with it, or the improvements that we saw with this, is a couple of things. The first one being there is no syntax highlighting, of course, of any way. You don't get any preview. You don't know if you've written your formula correctly or not. There's just really no information about that. Basically, everything is one line, right? So there's no automatic formatting, nothing like that. Also, this field is very small, so it makes it very hard to write more complex formulas and to add more custom logic. And also, we felt that it would be great to bring back the data type colors that we had in V1 of Wized. This makes it very simple for just knowing directly, is this value you're working with, is it like a text, is it a list, is it an array, is it an object? Those were all points of feedback that we got from you, and we listened, and we worked on a completely new version of this data field editor. And I will just share it with you right now. So this, what you're seeing right now, is the new data field editor. Basically, it is what opens up if you click on this data field. And in this new data field editor, we basically added all the points that we got from you as a feedback. So we made it larger. That's we've just made it scrollable, larger. We added syntax highlighting. So as you can see, we now have proper JavaScript syntax highlighting inside of here, which makes it very, just much easier to read and learn, especially when you're starting. We added the different colors for the data types. So in here, for example, you see a list of items. A list, an array in Wized is always blue. You see an object, it's always this purple. And you see a string, and a string is always yellow, basically. And this makes it much easier for you to recognize on a first glance what data type you're working with, basically, inside of this new data editor field. And this doesn't stop at text and lists and objects. It also goes to Boolean request types, which are red, and to numbers, which are orange. Also, we added this quick color here for you to recognize if it's a data in or data out request. So yeah, this also makes it very easy and more accessible for you. If you have a long list of requests, it's much easier to determine, okay, what is data in, what is data out. And yeah, of course, green is data in and blue is data out. Also, what we added in here, and that's probably the biggest change in terms of user experience, is that you can now hover over each value and will get its live value. So you can hover over this is requesting data, and you will see that it's right now false. You can hover over this and you can see it's true. You can hover over the first name property and you will see it's Martin. And this also is basically true for the whole function, like here. So if you hover over this, you can basically see an immediate preview of the evaluation, and you will see that this function here, for example, is false. And this in general makes it just so much easier for you to create a little bit more complex custom code and build even more awesome stuff. And especially when your projects get more complex, you will love this feature. And this hovering and the data field, it doesn't stop here. So you can also basically go completely down in the object and you will see a preview of every part of it. And also, for example, when you replace a variable, this color will be automatically updated. So right now you see index, for example, is 0. So it's a number, and that's why it's orange. And let's verify this in here. We can see that the index variable is orange. So yeah, a big change to the data field editor. It's basically now coming as a panel on the side. So not a pop-up. You will basically stay in your current workflow. It's much bigger, and we introduced the syntax color highlighting.
I love it. I think it was a much needed update. When I opened the data field editor, it would scare me because you have this little box with plain text looking code. And I'm not very familiar with code. I don't write code. Well, not yet, at least. And when I would try to do something there, I would even forget where I was within the application because there wasn't any relevance to it. But this new update solves all of that and adds even more. So I'm looking forward to seeing it go live. Um, so, any idea when it could go live?
Yes, so as you can see, it's already built out. We're just doing some final testing, and then it will probably also go out in the next weeks.
Okay, great. I'm so happy to hear that. Let's look at some questions. I see Yash is asking, does it support TypeScript?
Yes, it supports TypeScript syntax highlighting. However, it doesn't support TypeScript typing. So you can't you don't have strong typing in there, but it supports the syntax highlighting and the basically the highlighting of TypeScript is supported, but as it's executed inside of the browser directly and not compiled, the full TypeScript in terms of like enforcing typings is not supported.
Okay. And then Yosef Yanchev has an idea. VS Code has a GPT extension built in. It would be interesting to get such an integration for the data editor. What do you think about that, Jonas?
So yeah, let me maybe we had some thoughts also around that. We don't have anything that we can share or release right now, but we have had some thoughts around that, and maybe you can let us know some additional thoughts. So what we thought is that we could maybe add a box under this data field editor where you basically either get your code explained or it can generate code for you. So this would be basically something that we are exploring and thinking of. And yeah, I think we would love to hear your feedback on this idea. And maybe some of you are designers as well. If you want to create a mock-up or a screen or envision it some way, we would love to see it. And of course, we would love to integrate it as well.
Great. Okay, so I would like to highlight Harsh Verma's comment. So he is really looking for a Wized invite code. So if anybody has an invite code, please share that in the chat. And Harsh, if you don't get one, please message me on Twitter and I will share you my personal invite code. Okay, scrolling up, I see there is a question by Ferdi Boxman. They ask, how about royalties for black market if two developers work on one project?
So the royalty process for black market is not something that we share right now. But if you are signing up for a creator on the black market, that's something that we will get. Yeah, that you will get information about very soon. So this whole royalty program on how the creator and yeah, then the buyer part works. That will be released at a little bit later stage when the black market is coming is like officially launching. But yeah, for now you can already sign up as a creator, and then we will get in touch with you and of course share all the details with you there.
Great. Thank you, Jonas. So next question, Oscar asks, when will be the coming soon Airtable CRM in Wiz Showcase released? So I can answer that. Emmanuel is working on some starter kit clonables, which will include create, read, update, and delete functionality. And he's working with some native integrations. So they will be released over the next few weeks. Okay, I don't think we have any other questions, not that I can find them at the moment. So let's move on to the next section. Another big one, pricing. So, Jonas, could you tell us how the current pricing works? And then we can talk about the concept of what will be updated.
So probably some of you already know the current pricing, and yeah, we are basically charging on a project basis, and the main identifier between projects is the number of hits that your site gets. And in a lot of instances, we found that this number of hits is maybe not the ideal identifier for separating out the project plans. And the main reason for that is that the complexity of your build is not reflected at all. Like, yeah, you might build a very complex project for a very big client with only very few amount of visitors, and then our pricing basically is not reflecting this. So yeah, let me maybe start a little bit broader. And there is a new concept that we are going to introduce that will basically solve this pricing part, but also solve the yeah a way for us to introduce more and more features by still letting you decide basically which one of those features you really need and which one of those benefits you will get. And this concept that we are introducing will be called attributes. That was another concept that we are introducing. The concept will be called add-ons. So yeah, we are introducing add-ons for the pricing, and will basically package ready-to-use functionalities that normally would require code for you into this add-on concept. And the first example that we are going to add as an add-on is basically Chart.js. And this is something that a lot of you requested. Chart.js is basically a library in JavaScript that lets you render charts and basically lets you build beautiful dashboards. And in the past, there have been ways where Wized users have found to make it work with Wized, but it always involved custom code. And as one of those first add-ons, we are going to introduce chart.js to basically make it possible for you to render charts with no code required and do the whole configuration inside of Wized. And like chart.js, there will be many more of such add-ons coming that you will basically be able to then just book additionally to the traditional pricing of your project. And yeah, there will be a lot of those integrations coming. And if you have ideas for some libraries or integrations that you would like to see, please let us know. Yeah, we will take it into consideration. That's for sure.
Okay, so from my understanding, there will be a base price for every paid Wiz project, and then add-ons for anything that a user might need. So just adding stuff into the shopping cart. Is that the concept, Jonas?
Yes, that is correct. There will be a base price and there will be add-ons in the future. And the details about this, yeah, we will share them in a couple of weeks probably. I think we already shared a preview of how this pricing could look like, a V1 in the FN Pro meeting
FN
some while
Plus,
ago.
FinSuite Plus.
FN in the FinSuite Plus meeting, and we gathered all your feedback there. It was a lot of feedback, and we took it to rework into a version 2, and we are going to present this version 2 of the pricing very soon. And yeah, also for you, just to keep in mind, we will not raise prices for current subscriptions. So if you want to lock in your price, your current plan that you are on, you can feel free to do that. We will not basically, yeah, we will not change the current existing plans. Also, when we introduce the new pricing.
So essentially, it's a good idea for people to upgrade their existing projects to lock in the pricing and get that good good discount, if I can say so.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you can just make sure that your price will stay the same if you upgrade now.
Okay. Will there be a free plan with the new pricing?
There will continue to be a sort of free version like we also have right now. And all the other details we will share at another day.
Okay. And last question, let me know if you're comfortable answering that. What about account plans? Right now, any user has a free account on Wizd. Will that continue or will that change?
So we are thinking about providing some additional features to agencies, some features that are very important for agencies, and that maybe also only agencies need, and not freelancers. And this is basically all tied to collaboration, right? So we are thinking, and we got some requests about features that some agencies would like to see, and we are thinking about like packaging and displaying them also in our pricing. However, there's also an update on that coming later.
Okay. So let's look at the comments section now. I see Salman Samar asking, what about Stripe fees?
So this will also be covered in an update later. However, I can maybe already say you that we are planning an add-on regarding Stripe that will allow you to basically build your own checkout, like with custom elements, completely customized, not the Stripe checkout. Yeah, basically into your Wiz project, and this will be an additional add-on that we are going to introduce, and that will allow you to build the functionality without coding.
Okay, great. Another question by Iroslav Romanov. So it sounds like the prices will be much higher than now. So I think I can answer to that. It would depend on the project requirement. If you don't need any add ons, then I don't think it will be higher. Did I get that right, Jonas?
Yeah. So the general point is not that we want to squeeze more out of you or something. It's not that prices will change dramatically. It's more about adding new features and adding new features, especially for selective user groups. So we basically wanted to, yeah, introduced this add-on system to basically really empower you to choose and select the features you want for your project, and also only pay for those features.
Great. I think it makes sense. Fair enough. Pay for what you use, essentially.
Yes, that's the whole model around this new pricing rethinking that we are doing. Really paying for what you're using. Yeah.
Okay, another comment by Cage Dill. I hope I pronounced that right. If not, I'm sorry. So there will be no usage based pricing anymore at all.
We will talk about this at a later point.
Okay. Then, next question. Ferdy Boxman asks, can you talk more about the enhanced Zano integration? Do we have an enhanced Zano integration?
So it's one of the add-ons actually that we are working on. It's an add-on that will allow you to basically connect directly to the Zano API. So basically a built-in way, such as like, for example, Airtable. In our Airtable integration, you basically directly get the right tables and you get the right settings for those tables. And in the new Xano integration, you will be able to access the Xano API to basically also get the structure of your API. And this Xano integration will also make it much easier to work with different versions of Xano API. So that's something probably a lot of you that have enterprise clients, yeah, will benefit from.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to ask another question. I'm not a Stripe expert, so let me know if this is a repeat question. So Fife asks, are you able to talk about Stripe Connect? Is that different from Stripe Custom Checkout?
Yes, there are two different pages. So basically, Stripe Connect is when you open up a link that is basically hosted by Stripe. And in this, okay, so Stripe Checkout, there's Stripe Checkout, Stripe Connect, and the normal Stripe integration. So Stripe Connect in general is the way for you to build a marketplace and to connect with to connect other users' Stripe accounts with your Stripe account. And this basically allows you to then schedule payments and just take the revenue cut that you will probably want to take as a marketplace. And I can also already say that we will have support for Stripe Connect in our add-ons. We will release a complete list of all the add-ons we're planning to build, and the release schedules for each. Also very soon, coming with the new pricing. But Stripe Connect will be one of them. That's also something that we heard really a lot of you wanting to build, and Stripe Connect is essential for marketplaces. And maybe quickly circling back to the initial point of Stripe checkouts. So Stripe, there are two ways basically of handling a payment inside a web application when you're using Stripe. The first way would be to basically have the credit card form embedded on your own website and styled in your own website's theme. And the second one would be to redirect to Stripe Checkout. And basically, on Stripe Checkout, it's a hosted checkout by Stripe, where you can, of course, customize the color and the logo, but it's still limited in its customizability options. And the Stripe checkout, that's already supported right now as we speak by Wized. In the future, there will be an add-on for the native integration of Stripe into your own page. So basically, Stripe elements. And then there will also be an add-on coming for Stripe Connect. I hope I got the Connect and checkout right this time.
It's definitely a lot to take in. I will rewatch this section to understand more. Okay, next question by Nelson Orlando. Currently, if I have to use, for example, local store, session store, etc., only has the options of set variable or set cookie. With this update, the data field editor update, will it be possible to put custom code outside of these options?
So that's correct. We are working on. So what you mean probably is when you go into the Wized attributes, as we will name them in the future, and then you open it up and you are setting, and for example, an on-click trigger, and then you want to run a piece of custom code after this on-click trigger or after another kind of trigger. Then right now you're correct. You have the option of it's basically a little bit of a hacky way to do it. It's not officially meant in this way. So right now what you would do is you would basically setting a variable, and then instead of really actually setting the variable, you would execute some JavaScript in this value field. And in the future, instead of setting a variable, you will be just also presented with the option to run JavaScript. And then you will basically not need to select the variable. You can just have the JavaScript field.
Okay, thank you for the answer. I see that we've already moved into the live AMA section. So I'm going to request Victoria to share that Airtable link where users can request to get access to Wized. So as we continue talking about these questions and answers, people who don't have access to Wized can fill that form. We will review it. We will keep that form live until 12 p.m. Friday. So make those submissions. We will review each submission and then give selected users access to Wist. Okay, next question by Baltazar Faito. Do you have an idea when the course platform clonable will be released? I think they are referring to the teachable clonable that we have in the showcase section. So that is a question for Emmanuel. We are working as much as we can, and they will definitely come out in the next few weeks. Don't worry, we've got you covered there. In the meantime, I would encourage you to explore Wizd on your own. And if you have any questions, reach out to us in support and we will help you. Okay, next one by Riley CX. I am using ChatGPT slash Copilot heavily to help add code to Wist. What is the best way for me to share my current workflow with your team?
So I think we would love to have a Loom video on how you're using Copilot and ChatGPT right now. And yeah, I'm sure we would love to see it. So maybe just reach out to communications@wiz.com, and then we will explore it internally and get in touch with you.
Great, thank you. And then DK Jux is asking, I would love to see a stream about selling this to get an idea of how much these types of applications cost versus using Wist, etc. when mentioning more monthly subscriptions. So yes, maybe this question will need a lot to talk about, but could you give us an overview about your thoughts on this, Jonas?
Okay, I'm actually not sure if I get this question right. I'm not quite sure what. So whether you mean the cost of Wized or the cost to build a Wized application or the cost to build a traditional application. In general, I think it would be quite interesting to have a pricing live stream regarding how to price a Wized web application compared to a traditionally developed web application. And maybe in general, Wiz pricing can be very interesting, especially for a lot of you freelancers or agencies.
Okay, thank you for that, Jonas. Next question by Andres Menard. Is server-side rendering coming soon?
Yes, that's also one of the confirmed add-ons.
Okay, so it will definitely come then. All right, I am trying to find
Yes,
the questions.
there will be a list with more details about all the add-ons and just more information about them coming soon.
Okay, next question by Joseph Bates. So he is requesting for a simple video demoing showing optimal Webflow page structure layouts for using Wist. So Jonas, my question to you would be, is there a recommended page structure in Webflow for Wist? Does that matter?
So what we recommend in general as a page structure is, of course, client first. Um, However, other than client first, we released recently some guidelines on how to name elements and attributes inside of your Wized project. And you can find those in our intelligence center. So yeah, just feel free to look over there and check out the the style guides and recommendations that we added in there for you.
Thank you, Jonas. Now, Harminder Tind is asking, what if someone build own integration? So essentially, can somebody build out an add-on for Wized and submit that?
So, if you have a recommendation about something, feel free to get in touch with us. I think in the future, in general, it would be a very interesting thought to have this being opened up more and more for also external developers to integrate more and more JavaScript frameworks and yeah, just probably because there are so many out there that we could never integrate all by our own. So if you have some interesting recommendations there, if you want to get on board with it, feel free to reach out and we will chat.
Thank you, Jonas. So Riley CX is asking, is the Zano update going to be an add-on or included like Airtable?
So as you know, Xano right now is included, and you have your Xano application that you can select. However, the current plan for Xano for the enhanced functionalities, for basically functionalities that mostly enterprise customers need, it's a plan to have this as an add-on.
Okay, thank you so much, Jonas, for the answer. Another question by Oscar. Will the lock-in of the existing small, medium, and large plans include future add-ons?
So you can think of add-ons as nothing that will be removed from your current plan. It will just be additional features, additional functionalities that basically extend beyond our core product, extend beyond the core configurator. And so add-ons in the future are not included in your current configuration, but you can, yeah.
Okay, great. So I will now move on to questions from people who submitted on the Airtable form that we shared last week on Twitter, and then come back to the questions on the chat. So the first question for you, Jonas, um, could you compare Webflow logic and Wized? When to use logic, when to use Wized, which is better, which is not? Your thoughts on this, please.
Mhm. So first of all, Webflow logic is great. It's a great step, I think, in the right direction that Webflow added a built-in way to handle user accounts. However, I think Wized is capable of much more than only user accounts and subscriptions. If you think if you're trying to build something that extends over the typical pure user account, restrict page content, and basically maybe sell a subscription, but you rather want to venture into web application development where the content of your web application is dynamic and different for each logged in user. Like, for example, if you want to build a CRM or some dashboard for your agency, then probably every logged in user will have, or you will want to show different content to each logged in user. And that's something that's right now not possible with Webflow logic. And so in general, I think this Webflow authentication and Webflow logic, this all comes down to the scope and the complexity of what you want to build with your Webflow project. And also with the built-in way of Webflow, that they are basically adding calls out so that you can basically update data in the CMS and based on the form. That's basically only a small part of what the web application would need, because the whole getting data into your UI is not covered by Webflow logic.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that answer, Jonas. Next question would be, how do you create a social media web app on Wized?
So yeah, it's probably quite a complex question, but I will try my best to give a short and comprehensive summary of how you would think of such an application from the technical perspective. So first of all, of course, you will want for the users to create an account, right? So you will need sign up and login functionalities. Then what you will want the user to do is to probably submit, let's say, a tweet or some sort of message to other users. So we want to have a form with a connection to a database, so that when you click submit, there's a request going out, sending out the data that you put into your input form, and that's tying also this data to your user. So that's normally something that's done with the authentication together. And then what you probably also want is you want to load all the tweets of all the different users. So what you would do is you would basically do a load request, or data in request as we call it, and basically listen to or create a request that loads the content of your database and of all the tweets from all the users, filtered by the tweets your user wants to see. So, for example, maybe he only wants to see tweets where let's say from a person that he follows, right? Then this would be a filter that you would set in this data in request. And yeah, that's basically the core functionality. The other parts around it would then be just basically adding more details, like adding image upload. That's also something that's doable with Wized, or setting the profile, which also would be basically a form that you would update, and then basically just send the updated data to your backend of choice. So it's basically all about getting data in and getting data out. And submitting a form is always data out. And loading data for your UI to show is always data in.
Wow, such a detailed explanation. I'm quite impressed how you were able to envision everything and just speak out your thoughts in a series of steps. So, very impressive, Jonas. Before we move on to more questions, Victoria, could you please release that poll in YouTube chat? This is about Wized Coffee Talk. We had this idea that, um, let's say, every Wednesday or every second Wednesday or maybe 2 Wednesdays a month, we would have an audio space in Twitter where you could interact with the Wizd team, and essentially just an casual, informal hangout where you can ask questions about Wizd, where you can give user feedback directly to the team. Maybe there's a client who is thinking if Wizd is the right option or not, anything really. We could even head into GatherTown to share screen and see some projects that could be users, experienced users who could share their knowledge with the community. So the idea around Whist Coffee Talk is that none of it is recorded. It's very in the moment. And it's a fun experience for you to network with people. So let us know in the votes if you'd like to do it or not. And we'll then decide after the vote. Okay. And then I think we can answer a couple more questions. And you let me know, Jonas, if you'd like to stop the stream or keep going. Okay, so the next question. Chris is asking, what about pagination? Can we do that in Wist?
Yeah, it's a great question. We get this asked a lot. So in general, how a lot of people connect this is they connect it also with FinSuite attributes and especially CMS load. And in general, right now there's no support for CMS load inside of Wist, and that's basically not so much of a technical limitation of Wist. It's more of how the web and backends work. So, for example, CMS load in FinSuite in Webflow, it basically loads all the attributes at first, and basically always also deals with the known Webflow CMS structure of how to load a paginated list, right? And those kinds of requests on how to load a paginated list, that's basically different from every backend you could use. So it's very hard for us to write a general, yeah, loading function that would load all the required items from your database. And this is basically why we recommend you to basically just build it custom in Wized. And this might sound intimidating at first, but if you think of it in general as it's just a list where you just get a first part and then you get a second part of that list and then a third part of that list. So what you would do is you would just create a variable inside of inside of Wized, and you would basically just add all the request responses to them. And every time a user clicks on the button at the bottom that shows, for example, load more, then you would just make a new request with for example, for loading page 2 and then page 3, and basically then just loading step by step all the different pages. And normally tools like Xano, for example, for the backend, they already integrate this pagination methodology, so they make it quite easy for you to build the required endpoint for it, and then you can just basically build the required request for it inside of Wized. And I think Emmanuel also has a tutorial planned on that. I'm not quite sure when it will release exactly, but I think also it's going to release in the upcoming weeks.
Okay, great information. I guess we can do two more questions. So Hunter Reynolds is asking, being a new user, is Wizd an appropriate solution for creating watch events? Similar to in Make, for example, when a new record is created in Airtable, it triggers a Wizd pipeline.
So probably what you are referring to is a technology in the web called WebSocket, and it's basically a two-way binding request connecting the database and your application. And we already have support for these types of requests. We just call them basically a live connection to your database, and we have this right now in place for Supabase and Firebase. And shortly, we are also going to release it for traditional REST requests. And for traditional requests, there is a big tool called socket.io, I think. And we are going to release support for socket.io connections. And yeah, socket.io connections are very widely used for all kinds of different APIs. So you will in the future also be able to basically stream data directly from your database into Wized. However, regarding Airtable was example in your question, Airtable is a tool that doesn't support these kind of listeners or streaming requests right now. So unfortunately, you would need to switch to another database service like Firebase or Supabase or yeah, I think even Xano supports Socket.io with an add-on. So yeah, there are tons of other database tools to choose from. Unfortunately, Airtable is not yet one of them.
All right, great. Thank you so much for that response, Jonas. And the final question of the stream would be from Ferdy Boxman. Is there a Wizd discourse coming? I can answer to that. Yes, definitely. So we're currently working on discourse for FinSuite Plus. When that is complete, we will then work on a discourse platform for Wizd. Okay, then we are 9 minutes past the hour. I think it is a good time to end the stream. I would request everybody in the audience to like and subscribe to our channel. Please follow us on Twitter. The new handle is at Wized App. We will make announcements there regarding Wized Coffee Talk and anything else. Thank you so much for joining us. Jonas, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, it was just a great chat of exciting updates. And yeah, also a lot more coming. So always stay tuned and see you soon.
Great. Take care, everybody. Bye.